Okay, Governor, with regard to your snowbird tax, could you please explain how it's going to work? What are you going to tax and at what rate? And how are you going to enforce it? And if you insist on having a snowbird tax for the people that come south to the north, are you going to give a rebate for the people that go from the north to the south?
I don't quite get the part about the rebate. You know,
You're going to tax snowbirds coming into Minnesota. How about the snowbirds that go out of Minnesota for the winters and the summer?
I see. Well, they pay, I mean, if they're residents of Minnesota and they're going somewhere else for the winter, they're paying, you know, full slate of Minnesota taxes. But, you know, my concern is people, and I know some of them have the same last name I do, who move to low or no tax states like Arizona, Florida, Texas, and then they come back and they spend 3, 4, even 5 months here during the spring and summer, early fall, and they're not residents of the state, so they pay no taxes here. They pay no income taxes in the states where they legally reside, and they're using for almost half the year the same services that everybody else in Minnesota is paying taxes to support without paying anything. I just don't think that's fair. So that was the original idea behind it, and they would be taxed at the same rate as Minnesotans. They would pay if they're here for 4 months. They'd pay 1/3 of what they would pay if they were a full-time resident. Your point's well taken about people who go somewhere else for the winter. I hadn't, to be honest, even thought about that until now, but I'm not ready to take that one on. I don't think this is going to go anywhere this session because the problem is with, and I want to be sensitive to the fact that places like Greater Bemidji, probably parts on the North Shore where you have people who have lake homes or cabins and come for, the concern is if we make 2 months the threshold, they come for more than 2 months, and then they're going to be affected and they're going to be dissuaded from coming to Minnesota. So I honestly think unless Commissioner France can come up with a clever way to differentiate one kind of visitor return from people who are returning, I don't think it's likely to pass. But I do think it's basic tax fairness. My feeling is everybody ought to pay their fair share of taxes. Now, if you make more, you pay more. If you make less, you pay less. If you're here part of the time, you pay for part of this. Everybody else is paying for, and that's what keeps this society functional. And once we lose that ethic, then I'm concerned, really concerned.
I've got
Thank you.
Got Peg Sweeney here.
I pay.
Hi there. How are you? I just want to start this whole thing off by saying thank you for recognizing some of the things that you pointed out, and that's that the property tax is the most unfair tax that we have. And the only way to do true property tax relief is to increase what you are giving in the way of local government aid to local units of government, whether that be the counties for the services that they provide. Many of them are mandated things that are actually state services. To the cities, cities are really hurting. Another idea that has been floating that I think is wonderful, and that is to have a local 2% gas tax that could be used for our infrastructure. When you've got a city like the city of Duluth, the kind of crumbling infrastructure that it has, there's no way that they're ever going to catch up with it. St. Louis County has the same thing. We do several $1 billion worth of road repairs every year. But when you have over 3,000 miles of road in your county, half of which is blacktop, well, they call it blacktop, half of which are gravel roads, there's just no way that you're ever going to catch it up. We've got, and I just saw the figure in the paper today, I think it's $13 million. Mike can address it maybe. I see that Mike is here.
Our
but
plan next year is $46
$46
million.
million for St. Louis County on roads. That's just the tip of the iceberg. So just that kind of aid and that kind of help from the state helps everybody in this room to be able to pay less in property taxes. Because if we can't do it from the aid from there, we've got to start doing it through property taxes, which is the only tax that we have. So the gas tax is a good idea. So,
okay.
Thank you.
2 things. One, I agree that property tax is the most unfair tax. of all, because you have to pay it whether or not you have a job even, or an income. And the income's going up or down, but whether your business, your farm is producing a profit or a loss, you still got to pay the property taxes. And it's a calculated assessment, but it seems very arbitrary to people, especially when it changes drastically upward. And what is it now? In the last 12 years, over 80% increase in property taxes statewide in Minnesota. So, it's become increasingly, because of the cutbacks in state support for education for local governments, it's become increasing the reliance on the property tax, and that's added to everybody's tax burden. So I would agree with that, and again, we're looking at ways that my budget had a significant amount, 1.4 billion of property tax relief in my original proposal. That one didn't quite fly, so the one I have now is silent on property tax relief, but I had the prior understanding with the legislative leaders that they're going to take that on, so the final package will definitely have property tax relief. On the infrastructure, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, we have a bonding bill. I'm going to propose $750 million of bonding, and I think there'll be at least 3 times that much of really good projects that really need to be funded. They'll put people to work right away and improve the quality of life all over the state. And it's just not enough. And we have a new Commissioner of Transportation, Charlie Zelli, whose mandate is as a businessman to figure out how we can finance the kind of transportation improvements we're going to need for the next 20 years. We haven't done much for the last 20 years. We've fallen behind, everybody knows, in terms of the quality, in terms of congestion. I said I used to, when I first started going around the state campaigning for the first time in 1981, 82, I'd leave one town and I'd handwrite thank you notes. Somebody else is driving, but I'd handwrite thank you notes to people I just visited. Now, I mean, I literally can't keep my fingers on the laptop keys. It's just bouncing around so much. So I know firsthand experience how much the system is deteriorated, and also the cost of these projects is prohibitive for local government. So give Commissioner Zelli this year, the legislature has some ideas. My problem with the gas tax is steeply regressive, and it doesn't accomplish what we need to do. And so I don't support it at this point because it's not going to get us where we need to go. I hadn't heard of 2 cents for local government, but that's a different matter. But I want a comprehensive package so we can say to Minnesotans, if we do this, X, Y, and Z, we're going to get this as a result. 10 years, 20 years, we're going to have a better system. It's going to cut commuting times by a third, whatever, half, whatever it's going to do. It's going to improve the quality, and we can show people they're going to get their money's worth. I think people will support something if they're convinced they're going to get their money's worth.
Tony from Duluth.
Renshaw. Tony from Renshaw, little town out here in
I know where it is, he doesn't, but
well, for many years we've been on the outside looking in, paying our state taxes for stuff for Duluth, like the aquarium and North Shore Theater. And you've been laying out a terrible, terrible scenario for the state of Minnesota. Why are they even talking about the Northern Lights Express at a time like this? It just don't make sense. If you're so short on money and they're talking about upwards of $1 billion to spend on that train to nowhere, like I said, a lot of us are on the outside and wonder what's going on. How come they're getting all this? Because it's coming out of my pockets.
Well, you're right. The cost of that project is prohibitively expensive. I mean, it does go from somewhere to somewhere. It goes from Duluth down to the metropolitan area. And having been to China 8 times and been on their truly high-speed trains that go regularly 180 to 200 miles an hour, and they have a maglev train that goes 230 miles an hour. We're way behind in terms of Europe, in terms of China, for that kind of public transit. But the era of $1 billion grants from the federal government for those kinds of projects, I think, had probably passed us by, and that's the reality. The wood that we had started 30, 40 years ago, and others did, and you had 90% federal funding. So it's just not gonna be like, wait, in absent federal funding, I told the people, and I think it's great that people have ideas, that they're thinking creatively, but realistically,